Recording Studios.
Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. I'm your host, Sara Jones. For this episode, I got to hang out with Detroit comic Daryl Bean. Daryl Bean is a stand-up comedian, producer, and creative entrepreneur from Detroit, Michigan. Daryl is the host of the podcast The Year of Living Stevie and the producer and co-host of the upcoming show Do the Thing, both on the Abnormal Entertainment Network. Daryl and I had the opportunity to explore the Jackson State Prison in Jackson, Michigan, originally known as the Michigan State Prison. Built in 1840, the Michigan State Prison was Michigan's only prison for 40-plus years, housing men, women, and children. The City Fathers of Jackson, Michigan fought to get this prison in order to help the city grow. Steve Rudolph and his partner, Jim Guerrero, operate the historic prison tours where they take you through 180 years of Michigan prison history. We were lucky enough to have Steve Rudolph personally accompany us to the solitary confinement area, a place they often use as a backdrop to the history of the prison. Steve Rudolph, a native of Jackson County, worked for the Jackson Fire Department for 24 years, retiring in 2013. He is a history buff and a longtime Toastmaster. In 2012, he began using his speaking skills gained in Toastmasters to entertain and educate thousands of tourists about Jackson's history as it relates to Michigan's prison system. In 2017, Steve and his partner Jim took over the prison tour company. They have entertained guests from as far away as Saudi Arabia. So come along with me, Daryl Bean, and Steve Rudolph and explore the Jackson prison. Remember, as Steve and Jim like to say, who says a prison tour can't be fun? Here's the episode.
I was going to show you this. This is where we're going.
Okay.
But they've taken pictures, and if you look at it, there's a lot of orbs in there.
Yeah.
And that's what she was depicting in this book. So we're going to walk the whole length of this hall down here, and we'll end up in a place where we do our tour.
Okay.
We don't take everybody the way your guys are going.
Oh, well, thank you. Little VIP treatment, huh? You excited?
I am excited. This is going to be fun.
Good deal. So right now we're walking down to Solitary, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is when they turned this into apartments, they made it for artists.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's really cool.
And so the art that you see here, they really brightened this place up. This
Yeah.
place, I've been here when it had no art.
Yeah. It feels a little different, huh?
Yes, it's unfortunately most of the artists are gone these days.
Oh. So this is the old prison that we're walking through right now. So all this brick has been here since the 1800s?
Yeah, this is like this is a later edition cell block. They
Okay.
tore down the whole east wing. It
Okay.
went all the way to that wall to the east when you come in. Where'd you come from? You come from nowhere.
I live in Brighton. So
where do
okay,
I live
fine.
in Oregon? Yeah.
Yeah, but when you drove in here, I don't know. You
Oh,
probably
yeah. I was
saw
like, I
that
don't know.
wall.
Yeah.
So the cell blocks went all the way there.
Okay.
To that wall up to the east.
Oh wow, yeah.
And they tore a lot of that down. Plus, there were factories all through the.
Yeah, when you look online at how many people were imprisoned here, the numbers have a huge range. Like some of them say like 3,000, some of them say up to 6,000. So I just left it at thousands. Because I was like,
Lots of
it's somewhere in there.
I don't think there were 3,000. There weren't 6,000 here. There were 6,000 out there.
Once they added all of those new like conflict that I could see.
Yeah, the new prison out there was huge.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Our governor wanted to have the largest prison in the world.
Well, wasn't there an overcrowding problem too? So
There
you
was
could
an
kind of
overcrowding problem here. See, this one, they started the new one, the one that we call the new one. It's 90 years old now and it's closed. The one I just pointed out to you.
Yeah.
that was, they started that after Prohibition. And we had a huge overcrowding
Right,
problem.
of course.
Liquor,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like we do now because
Yeah.
of drugs.
Yeah.
Right,
And,
yeah.
they never learn anything.
No, of course, no. History repeats itself. That's gotta. Yeah.
So anyway, that's when they moved out there and they built that prison. That prison, and I'll give you an idea. If I took you out there today and put you in a cell and moved you every day to a new cell, it'd be almost 14 years before you got back to that prison.
No way. That's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huge.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was overcrowded for a while.
Oh my goodness.
So overcrowding and prisons, I guess, go together.
Yeah, hand in hand. Is it time for the flashlight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on it.
Watch your step at the very bottom down there. It's kind of a long step.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's like a big step. Is this starting to feel real to you now, Daryl?
Yeah, this is getting real. So were prisoners shorter than before?
Yeah, they were shorter back then.
Well, they were. You know what? If we go this way, I'll just take you down here, give you a little perspective here.
Is this a part of the underground tunnels yet, or
Well,
no?
this was solitary,
Okay.
and there's probably it's hard to say. You know, I come over here and I look. Here's another place. You come over and you look. Where's this brick was here. It looks like it's water stained or something.
Yeah.
But this brick was here, so it's come down here and stopped.
Oh yeah, that brick back
Yeah.
there. I see what you're
See,
saying.
all the plumbing and stuff that's in
No,
here,
no, yeah.
that all came after they turned it into apartments.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, but these walls, there were 3 solitary cells in here.
Oh, I can see like where the top of it, like
Yeah.
here, came down.
Yeah, and then there were 3 of them in here.
Uh-huh.
So there's 5 compartments like this. They only showed us the one.
Yeah.
So there's 5 compartments of 3 solitary
Yeah.
cells, so there
Yeah.
are 15.
Yeah, and we'll walk
Wow.
past
So
all 5
was,
of them.
I'm curious, like, so like obviously there was a wall right here where this top part was, so like
Right.
this spot was a cell.
Yeah.
But could they see through the cells?
No.
They couldn't. Okay, because I was gonna say, isn't that part of the point of solitary is that like you have no social interaction? But I
Right.
wonder if they
Yeah.
could shout to each other or something.
They were down here, and this was a place where eventually they just went insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because Michigan passed a law in 1846 that said there will not be any capital punishment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You will live the rest of your life in solitary confinement.
It's cool too to just like how old this is. All the history that's here is just, to me, that always is like a cool feeling.
You know, if you look at this, you can see where they saw cut this to put these pipes in, because this
Right.
wall went right over here and hooked in here.
Yeah.
So every one of these compartments, like over here, there's another stairway,
Oh, yeah.
and that'll take you up right across
Just
the
back
hall
to
from
where we
where we
were.
were,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll see some more down here.
There's been some artwork done on the bricks here. I don't know what the
We
purpose
got,
of that
we got
was.
tagged down here. Look at that. Somebody came and tagged it.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I told you the other day that we had a guy here. He was the commander of the National Guard.
Oh,
back
yeah.
In the early
Uh-huh.
90s. And he said he would come down here, and he says they just stored junk down here.
Yeah.
But they had. He said some of these places though they still had the shackles in the walls. Where
Whoa,
it
dope.
wasn't bad enough that they had solitary, but they would actually shackle them up and hang them.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So he said it was kind of spooky.
Yeah.
He said, you know, there was people that wouldn't even enter the building, these soldiers. So all these compartments were blocked off,
Uh-huh. Oh, you got your lamp?
separate. But anyway, this was you when you were here, it was especially for a life sentence,
Right.
solitary.
Mhm.
It was more. It took you from being hung, which took about that long,
Yeah.
to about a 6-month death sentence.
Yeah.
So if there's any ghosts in this place,
It's
they're-
right here.
They're here.
Yeah.
And you know they did stop that after a while. We still got one guy in there. If you want to do your
Oh yeah, I'll take a little picture. That's cute. So this is a part of your tour. So this was like you telling the history, and then you'd kind of be like, "Oh, we got one poor guy here.
Yeah.
This kind of looks
call
like a
him
green
Horrible
room in
Horace.
comedy clubs, actually.
Yeah.
We call him Horrible Horace, and I tell the women when they sit down next to him to get their picture taken to watch his hands. 'Cause he's
He
frisky.
gets a little handsy, yeah. Well, I'm thinking maybe what we should do is we should sit in the corners, unless you want to sit next to Horrible Harris.
No, you know, he's handsy. I don't know if I want to sit
He
next to
gets
him.
handsy, I don't know.
You get desperate after a while. so.
Sure, yeah, who wouldn't?
Yeah, he's pretty desperate.
Yeah, he's been there a minute. So, Daryl, where are you the most freaked out?
Yes.
Yes? You want to just do it right here?
Yeah. This is pretty freaky.
Yeah, because so this is the original brick here. So I'm thinking, since this is a corner, was this probably a cell right here?
Oh yeah, this was a cell.
Yeah, okay, so this might be perfect.
So how big were the cells? Like, where would the wall be from the next
Well,
cell?
the wall would be right here, and
Let
if
me
you
take
go
a picture
over
of that because
here,
it's kind of cool.
and see this whole building is a later. It wasn't built circa 1840. It was more like 1880 or 90.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So
they're
it's
building
brand
with
new.
steel. There's steel in it, so it's later addition, but it's got a pretty spooky history.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Back in that time, did they have the distinctions in prisons, like a maximum security prison versus like a lighter, or was it just everybody that they threw in jail
Everybody.
just kind of ended up in one place?
Yeah, because this was Michigan's only prison for 50 years.
Yeah.
So you could have been in here
Easily.
right beside him, and then
Yeah.
a 14 or 15-year-old kid could have been right next to you.
Oh,
It's the
wow.
only
Yeah.
prison that you had.
Right.
And then originally, and you'd been right in a cell block with the men.
Oh, wow.
Then later on, towards the 1850s, they actually built a cell block inside the walls for the women.
Yeah.
And that continued up until the 1890s when they put the Detroit House of Detention came along, and they sent all the women over there.
Oh, yeah, so they're all separate, women's prison versus male's prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, so we are in the Jackson State Prison in Jackson, Michigan. Mm-hmm. Right now we're in solitary. So we are sitting in what used to be a solitary confinement cell. So it looks like they took out one of the walls. How big would you describe?
It's not big.
It wouldn't be big.
Not big.
Yeah.
It's not great.
So it's like kind of in the basement. We've got the old brick walls. I'm afraid of spiders down here. That's
I'm
like the
super afraid of
only thing that I'm...
Actually, I got to own up to something. Steve
Yes.
was moving his foot, and I thought it was coming from behind me like a mouse or something, or like a rat. I was like, wait a minute, what was that?
What did I agree to? Why am I
Oh,
here?
shit.
So we're underground. It's all the old brick, and we're in a spot that used to be one of 15, I think, solitary confinement cells.
Yes.
All right. So the Jackson State Prison, originally known as the Michigan State Prison, was built in 1842. It was the first prison in the state of Michigan and, for some time, was known as the world's largest walled prison, housing thousands of inmates. Thousands of
inmates.
Yeah. So I was going to say earlier, my sources came up with different numbers. It was like 3,000 or 6,000, and we settled on thousands because eventually they expanded the prison due to overcrowding. So there's been
There's been a few.
There's been
a handful.
A few handfuls of people have lived
sure.
here and died here, obviously. Some say many of those restless spirits still haunt the prison grounds, according to various first-hand paranormal accounts. This prison became known for its riots and escapes. In fact, during the first year after the prison opened, 35 inmates were admitted, and 7 of them managed to escape over the prison walls. That's a 20% escape rate.
I guess that's the risk you take when you imprison an Olympic team.
Yeah,
going over the
they're
side,
all
just
Olympic.
pole vaulting
Yep.
over the side.
Those ne'er-do-wellers that are Olympic athletes.
As you know, as they are.
Most people know, yeah. Not to mention there were countless rumors of deaths and inmate torture. So I said earlier, at one point, the prison was expanded to account for overcrowding, and a new prison was built in 1934, about 3 miles away. One of the residents of the new prison, Dale Otto Remling, was a con artist serving time at Jackson State Prison for passing bad checks and hijacking a truckload of nearly 400 hogs from a farmer in Nebraska. A hardened criminal.
Yeah, that's a rough dude. You gotta watch out for people with trucks full of hogs.
He's got hella hogs in that truck.
He's got tons of hogs.
In 1975, he attempted to escape the prison, and this is the coolest story.
Okay, I'm ready.
So no stranger to prison escape. It was not the first time he'd escaped to prison, but I didn't go through all of those. This guy, you gotta look him up because he's rad. Dale Remling. So no stranger to prison escape, Remling, from within these walls, somehow enlisted his partner to hijack a helicopter and land it directly in the prison yard. His partner flew Remling 13 miles north to the town of Leslie, Michigan, where Remling then fled on foot.
Now, hang on a second. So his friend got a helicopter. He was just like, hey, Rusty, can you give me a helicopter? I need to get out of here.
Well, it's like his partner in crime. So he had been, like I said, he escaped prison multiple times. So this was just, I guess, one of his mastermind plans. I don't know how he did it though either. Like probably passing notes outside. It's not like he had a cell phone. Like this.
Right.
Is like,
yeah. He went on the internet, and sent an email or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. So then, he was arrested the following day at a bar in Leslie. Yeah, with no problem. Like
classic.
They just,
classic.
It said there was no incident.
I'm out. I'm getting a beer.
Yeah, he was getting a beer. He got caught. And he just was like, all right, you got me. Yeah, I did it. He then served a 20-year prison sentence in Marion, Illinois. He was released on September 13th of 1993 and spent the rest of his life in Bakersfield, California, dying on July 2nd of 1999. So at the time of this recording, tomorrow will be his 20-year death anniversary.
Got to pour one out for you, Dale.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the thing I was thinking about. Okay, so what is the worst thing that he did, really, aside from breaking out of jail?
Yeah.
The worst thing he did was stealing a truck full of hogs, right?
Well, no, yes, for his prison sentence in Jackson, but mainly, he was...
Like, did he kill anybody or anything like that? Or
he had been in prison multiple times for just fraud and, money schemes.
I gotta be honest,
good guy.
After you pull a helicopter stunt like that, you gotta just be like, all right, you
earned it.
You win.
You win.
You win.
I know.
It's kind of like if you get to your driveway before the cop can pull you over, you should get out of the ticket. I feel like
we're just impressed.
I'm impressed. Go ahead.
You're all set.
Have your beer. You're good.
You know what? Good for you. Actually, this one's on me.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Run.
Yeah.
Run,
I know.
Forrest, run.
I know. I think they should make a movie about him if they haven't already.
I'm surprised they haven't. He's a fascinating dude.
He's very fascinating. Actually, so when I was reading more about him, I read a comment on a story about Dale, and it says, Dale was my great-grandpa. He was the best guy ever, from what my mom told me. He never had ill intentions, and as you can see, he was a total badass.
Yeah. He's kind of a badass. I gotta be honest.
Total badass. Indeed.
Was he, when we were upstairs, is he the picture of that Jimmy Cagney looking dude that was like,
he was the guy that I was like, we're going to talk about this guy.
That tracks. That makes 100% sense.
That's him. All right, so the prison was overtaken by mobs of inmates on multiple occasions. The most severe riot took place in 1912 and lasted for about 6 days, though other sources say it lasted nearly 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. The first sign of trouble came when inmates started throwing plates at the walls of the dining hall. It had to finally be extinguished by the National Guard, but not before the death of several inmates and guards. Residual sounds can sometimes be heard that are believed to be from this and other smaller riots.
That's what you get when you have the Blues Brothers show up and play a concert at your jail. It's just, shit goes wrong. It goes bad.
Actually, we'll get into it. But yeah, so I think imagining what those residual sounds might be. I
Right.
don't know if it's like plates being thrown or people yelling maybe.
Hey, that
or,
was my cake or something.
Yeah, it's probably
whatever.
that.
So
That's what people hear all the time. That's
hey,
my
that,
cake.
That was my cake.
Don't be mean. Hey, boop-a-doo. Yeah. In April of 1952, 2 maximum security prisoners overpowered a prison guard and used his keys to release other inmates. This resulted in another riot where 9 guards were held hostage at knife point for 5 days.
Wow. So wait, when they were using the key, did they get it off the guard, or were they like hauling the guard around and like unlocking doors, like just with this dude like
well, I don't know.
in between them? That would be.
But I think they probably took the keys from him. They overpowered him.
Yeah.
And they were 2 maximum security prisoners, so those guys probably didn't just steal 400 hogs.
Probably. Yeah, these are battered dudes.
It's a little slightly better. It might have been 500.
Yeah.
These guys really, yeah. So the rioters demanded that the prison warden, then a retired Marine Corps general named Julian N. Frisbee, I don't know if there's any relation to the Frisbee.
It was so good that he got into the toy industry and was able to leave the prison industrial complex.
He's just like, you know what, I just want to throw a disc.
I'm just going to throw a thing.
I've been really setting the bar too high for myself.
Maybe it was the riot. They're throwing the plates and he goes,
we're on to something here.
That's a thing.
There you go, yeah. They seem to be having fun. Yeah. So they wanted this prison warden to agree to a list of 11 demands. They even insisted the demands be listed in the newspaper. Nearly 3,000 inmates participated in the riot, and $2.5 million in damages were done to several wings of the prison. Eventually, the leaders of the riot were indicted for conspiracy, and many of the demands were left unmet. Obviously. I didn't get a list of what the demands were, but I'm sure they were like asking for
more cake.
More cake. And
Frisbees.
Probably to eat it too.
Yeah.
Like they were
Frisbees.
Just, at least give us some fucking Frisbees.
For God's sake.
It sucks.
We're in this prison. We want to play Frisbee.
Come on, Frisbee. What are you going to do?
What's the deal?
Come on. The 1954 film Riot in Cell Block 11 is actually based on this Jackson riot.
Oh.
Yeah. So add that to your list of movies to see later.
Films to watch.
Yeah. It's cool because like it reminds me of, did you ever watch Orange is the New Black?
Yeah.
So they had the whole prison riot thing. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of that, only this is real, which is awesome. Well, I guess Orange is the New Black is based on true stories. But
right.
I think that's probably more into the...
Huh.
I guess I don't know. I didn't read the book it was based on, did you?
No, I didn't read the book. I just watched the TV show. That's usually how I roll. That's why I'm such a good student.
Yeah, that's what you do. You're like, I do comedy now.
That's why I'm such a, like my parents are very proud of me.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not an engineer or anything.
Like that. I watch a TV show.
I don't read the book.
Don't read?
I can't read, but...
Yeah, but I do jokes. That's fun.
I'm funny though sometimes.
I do funny jokes sometimes.
All right, so the inmates' stories of abuse, neglect, and sickness spread. For example, it was once standard punishment for prisoners who broke the prison's rules of silence to have their hands bound together with rope and to be left hanging from a hook in the ceiling. So that's what Steve was telling us about earlier as we were like walking through here.
The shackles and stuff, yeah.
So yeah, their hands are bound together by rope. They're held by a hook on the ceiling. Their feet were dangling 5 inches from the ground. And sometimes they would be left there for as long as 12 hours.
Wow.
Can you imagine the pain?
That would be crazy.
Yeah, on your wrists. Like one of your most like vulnerable, like thinnest parts of your body.
What I wonder too, like in crucifixions, for example, the way that people died was through asphyxiation, because when you're hanging there, it like crushes your rib cage.
Oh,
I wonder if
really?
it's similar. I wonder if there's like a similar effect.
I had no idea of that.
Yeah.
So in crucifixions, when they're on the cross,
yep.
What would happen? How do you mean like?
Well, like the weight of your body as your muscles tire out, like it just kind of pulls you forward, and it starts like crushing against your lungs.
Uh-huh.
And as you weaken, you don't have the strength to fight against it, basically. So eventually, it just kind of flattens your lungs out, and you die that way. But it takes like 2 days or 3 days.
Because I thought, exposure or...
That too. There was a number of nasty ways to die in crucifixion.
Yeah, but I had no idea. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone were some of them tied to the cross, or were they all nailed to the cross like Jesus?
I think it depended. I think that a lot of them were tied, but some of them, especially if like the Romans wanted to send a really strong message, that they would nail people to the cross. But I don't know that it was typically that. I think. I'm certainly not an expert, but although you'd be surprised. But
well, I love about this show that like we'll get into like new topics, and like I always learn new things. I'm just like, no way.
Comics know weird shit, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I know that a lot of times when people were crucified after Jesus Christ was crucified, they wanted to be crucified upside down in respect to him.
Yeah.
So then I wonder too, like then you've got the blood rushing to your head. Like that has to be different ways that you would perish.
So exciting. It was a lovely time.
This is the shit I like to talk about.
Really lovely time.
I'm glad you came out. Sorry, I can't pay you.
But you get paid in
but this
information,
is worth
right?
so much more. Yeah, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. Thanks for 12 years of Catholic education. Mom and Dad, it's being put to good use.
There you go. Yeah. Irish Catholic, I'll do what I can.
Yep, there you go.
So basically there's a lot of torture that happened here, and you could kind of see when we walked in, so this place is a museum, so there were some pictures, we'll go check it out before we leave, of some of the other torture, but I saw a picture of the hanging, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, that's one of the things we'll talk about. In 2006, not that long ago, following the death of a mentally ill inmate named Timothy Joe Saunders, many of the inhumane methods in the prison were put to an end.
So there were still things like that, like the torture stuff, or like
yes.
What?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like you put a bad guy in charge, and you get bad things happen.
Yep.
So we'll get into it. So Saunders was profoundly mentally ill. Supposedly Saunders was being punished for misbehaving in some way. And originally he had been put in soft restraints and left for 3 days. After 3 days, when it was discovered that he had managed to free himself from these probably easy to free restraints, you got 3 days figured out.
Yeah.
The prison guards restrained him on a concrete slab. Saunders' body was found lying naked in his cell, covered in his own urine, after days of temperatures reaching well over 100 degrees.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He had spent 4 days in a segregation cell. A federal judge described the conditions in which Saunders died as torture. Obviously, yeah. Yeah. Following his death, a new limitation was put in place for restraint policies so that misbehaving inmates can only be shackled for a maximum of 6 hours. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, obviously, there's a way you have to punish people.
Right.
Prison isn't supposed to be like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Right?
It's that line
But who's drawing the line?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have friends that work in prisons back in Pennsylvania, and it's these aren't great guys. These are not always
the prisoners. Yeah.
These are not great people that are in prisons, but at the same time, what's that line of like being humane versus
I'm interested to know, you said your friends are they prison guards?
Yeah.
So do they know the reason for the men in prison?
That's a great question.
There?
I think, I don't know if officially they do, but they do. You know what I mean? If you figure it out, you find out over time.
Okay, because I was going to say, you saying, they're saying, these are not good guys. But it's like, how can you tell the difference between this guy killed someone in cold blood, that guy was a coke dealer?
Right.
You know what I mean? Where do you find the line of, this guy is trying to make ends meet, this guy killed a family?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And with all the other conditions that go on in prisons too, that who were they when they came in and who are they now?
That too. Absolutely right. Yeah, so that's an interesting, I wonder. And I'm sure just like with everything else, there's probably good prison guards, who I assume your friends are.
Yes.
And then there's the bad guys, And those are those people seeking a position of power, too, that they want to exert this. So it's scary business.
Yes.
All right. Saunders was one of hundreds of deaths discovered on these premises. Reports of paranormal activity abound in this prison, including seeing doors open and closing, pipes banging, phantom screams, and well over 50 full-body apparitions have been seen by eyewitnesses in the area.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really cool because, that doesn't always happen.
Oh, I just had a weird thought. Okay,
Yeah.
so this prison's been here since 1840, right?
Which one?
This prison, right? The
This
Jackson
prison,
State? Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
When prisoners died in that time period, is there like a mass grave? Or how did they handle when people died in prison back then?
Steve?
Originally, the original story is they threw them to the hogs.
Wait. Remling's hogs?
No.
Yeah, maybe he was doing a favor.
Wait a minute.
Full hogs, man.
Wow, that's they really
It was a
are.
long time after that.
Oh, okay.
No, and then there is a cemetery south of town, Woodlawn Cemetery, that's got graves in it. And it was just for the prisoners. Not near enough graves.
Yeah.
Because you think about the punishments, where they could die from the punishments, they could die from the 19th century diseases, things that we don't even think about anymore.
Or we shouldn't.
Maybe we should.
Right. I mean, times they are a-changing.
Yeah, they're changing.
It all comes back around.
And also, they worked it in factories inside the walls. And there was no OSHA back then.
Right.
And the factories were dangerous in themselves.
Right.
So there was at least 3 ways to die.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, in Michigan, we got a medical school in Ann Arbor.
Yep.
University of Michigan.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the 1870s, they started shipping the bodies over to the cadaver class.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
If
all
they
right.
weren't picked up by their friends and relatives.
Sure.
Now, if you think about back in the day, back before trains and all that stuff were around a lot, where there was, and you died you were from up in the northern Michigan and you died down here. This time of year, can you imagine your family driving down here in a cart and getting you and driving you back?
Ugh.
It would be a pretty unsavory task to
No,
drive you back.
yeah.
to
No kidding.
So, I mean, geez, you're talking like a week each way, just driving down in a cart.
Oh my God.
Probably more. So, I'm thinking there's a lot of people that we don't even know where they went.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Back to the earth, I guess, probably. Back to the hogs. Well, I was just thinking, like you were saying, so a lot of the cadavers were sent to U of M after the medical school opened. That makes perfect sense. But then I just kind of tied this together. H.H. Holmes studied at the University of Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
He was a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So you know who H.H. Holmes is, right?
No.
He was the serial killer who lived in Chicago, and he had what was called the H.H. Holmes Murder Castle. Is what they called it afterwards. He didn't call it
Well, sure.
at the time.
Welcome to my
Come
murder
on
castle.
in.
Come on in.
Make yourself at home. You'll be murdered here.
People are dying to come in.
But he would murder people and then send them off kind of on the black market and sell them to medical schools because they needed bodies. Like that was like a big thing. So he would make money doing that. But he studied at the University of Michigan. So the link I'm making is some of the bodies from this prison, I'm sure H.H. Holmes studied on those cadavers and then learned a lot about how he would commit his murders.
And then you got an idea.
Chicago.
It's like, well, I'm in Chicago. I can't get those bodies. Where am I going to get bodies?
What are we going to
from?
do?
What
I'm
am
an
I gonna do?
unsavory dude. I know.
Whoa.
But yeah, he also went by lots of different names and had like multiple different wives and was just all over the place.
A swell dude all around.
Because let me try to put it on a timeline too. Because like around the time he was doing his murders was during the World Fair in Chicago.
What was that, 1894?
It was something, the late 1800s.
Yeah.
So the timeline adds up. Like it would be a lot of those bodies, I'm sure H.H. Holmes was somehow connected to. Interesting.
How about that?
You gotta have your favorite serial killers. You know, we all have
got it.
passions in
It's
this
true.
world.
Yeah, some people like guitar players and
Sure.
argue about
Yeah.
Clapton versus Hendrix.
Sure.
Other people,
you got your
serial killers.
I'm not as much of a Manson guy. I like my H.H. Holmes. I'm from the Midwest. What am I going to do?
It's like an ESPN thing,
Sure.
like if you threw Holmes versus John Wayne Gacy, who would win, right?
Yeah.
Kind of that.
Holmes. I mean, he didn't target children.
Yeah, it's true. The
clown. You got a fat clown and a business guy. No,
maybe it's another series for you. It's another...
Listeners, if you have input,
I want a piece. Give me 10%.
I want to see who's going to be Team Gacy on this. You know what?
I know, right? You just go through time, and like Manson versus Jim Jones.
Sure.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Both kind of culty. Both kind of think someone else is.
We're putting a trademark on this right now.
This is a fantastic idea. Actually, this is a great idea for crowd interaction, but it's not. All right, listeners, we got a lot of shit coming for you. Next season 3, Laughing in the Dark.
Get nuts.
It's gonna get wild. All right, hog wild, you might say. Sorry, I'm sorry, I can't. All right, blah blah blah. All right, so basically, a lot of voices are heard here. There's a lot of different things that happen here. It's definitely one of the most haunted places in Michigan.
Okay, so Sarah, this is your thing. Like, what do you feel? Like, do you feel something here? What do you think? Or have you not?
So, all right, here's where I'm going to go with it. I do feel something down here. Do you?
I don't know yet.
I do feel something, but I'm not always like, oh, I feel the spirits around me.
Yeah.
But what I do feel is the history that's here behind these walls.
Sure.
And to me, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that where we're sitting comfortably in lawn chairs right now is where prisoners were right here. Look at the walls. That's the original wall. There are prisoners that had their head laid against here, probably banging their head against it sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is what I feel.
That is heavy.
And that's what I feel anytime I go to a haunted location. That's what I'm interested in.
It's kind of like when we were upstairs and I was pointing out the walls. And I was like, look at those walls, like the rocks, and it's all like rough-hewn rock kind of thing. And I had the same thing where it was just this time travel.
Yes.
Like that was standing during the Civil War, and there might have been, whatever. I don't know if there were any Civil War battlefields around here or not, but like if there was any kind of skirmish.
Fort Wayne back in Detroit.
Yeah, like there could have been stuff happening here. Like what?
Yeah.
What if you were a rock? And this is kind of a weird metaphor.
Like if walls could talk.
If walls could talk.
Yeah.
But it was like I definitely had that sense of like, whoa, this place, this has seen a lot.
And to me, that's what gives me shivers.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like there was so much happening here. You can like hear prisoners yelling. You can imagine guards, yelling back at them down here. Like all the sounds of just keys clanking and like doors shutting, and that is what fascinates me here. And even if you don't believe in ghosts, there are ghosts of a memory here.
Yeah, I like that.
And they're not particularly pleasant,
right?
for this location, you know what I mean? So that's how I always go about that. And I also love haunted, creepy shit. So like I've done some episodes where comics are like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you not freaking out right now? And I'm like, I don't know. I like this stuff.
I am surprisingly okay. Like I'm kind of a ninny. I'll be honest with you. I'm usually kind of a ninny.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm surprisingly okay.
Yeah.
Right now,
well,
which is weird. Maybe it's because there's people.
Yeah,
like,
we're here to protect you. Unless there's a spider, that's your department.
That would be bad.
Okay. Yeah. If we find a spider, I hope you're going to send it right back to hell where it came from.
I'll cry. I will just cry.
You'll just cry. Great. All right. We've got Steve. He's here to help.
Steve can kill it for us. I'll be crying in the corner.
Okay, good deal. So those who visit the Jackson State Prison have suggested that the ghostly voices they hear and feel lingering. I'm sorry. I'm going to back up a little bit. It's not uncommon for voices to be caught on tape here.
Really?
Yeah, which I've always wanted to catch something on my recordings. So we'll see if we get lucky here. I'm not sure. Sometimes phantom voices can be heard screaming or begging for help. Many people have reported being physically touched by the spirits, sometimes even being pushed by unseen forces.
Whoa.
Those who visit the Jackson State Prison have suggested that the ghostly voices they hear and feel lingering within these prison walls seem to be seeking some sort of retribution for the abuse that they suffered here. maybe even forgiveness for their own crimes or some kind of pardon. So that gets into the question of like, do ghosts know that they're dead? Do they think they're still trapped here? Do they think if someone died in prison where we're sitting in solitary, what if they still live in this existence where they think they're still in solitary forever?
Whoa, yeah, that's wild. That's scary. Think of that, that you would never be able to leave.
No.
And no one would even recognize you, right? Because you're just a spirit.
Yeah.
But you see it as,
I'm still trapped in solitary, but
wow.
Yeah. And I wonder about that kind of stuff. Or if there are some spirits here that maybe are like, I wish I didn't commit the crime that put me here, and now I'm stuck here forever. So I need forgiveness from people to get me the hell out of here. Those are the things that kind of stuff does interest me and creep me out a little bit.
They need Brene Brown, is what they need. They need Brene Brown
they do.
to tell them how to forgive themselves.
What does she write? She writes all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah, like daring greatly and all that sort of thing. It's like you have to forgive yourself.
Yes.
And you have to, have mercy to yourself. So
Brene Brown actually is coming right. Come on in, Brene.
Hi, Brene.
Perfect segue. Yeah. No, so that's kind of the type of stuff that I think about of why they're here. I think there's all kinds of reasons for ghosts to stay lingering somewhere. But it could be, they don't know that they're dead and they're forever trapped in solitary.
Yeah.
Or they've suffered so much abuse here that they're angry and that energy keeps them here.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier about, like, I don't know that I believe in ghosts per se, but I was saying that I do think that there's an energy to certain places and rooms. Like when something really bad has happened, even if you don't know that, you sort of sense it, like this sort of black hole sort of energy where it's just like either it's so dead that it's unsettling, or there's just like a prickly, like, oh, I don't know about this kind of
you don't
sensation.
feel that right here?
I do, yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just like so engaged
comfortable,
because I'm sitting in a nice chair and everything. But no, I mean, it's really, if I take a second and imagine myself here,
that's it.
It really puts you, it's not very hard to get into that. And it's unsettling. It's absolutely unsettling.
Yeah, because I can definitely feel in my arms, there's that feeling of like, there's a lot that went down right here. So when ghost hunters from groups Haunted Travels of Michigan and Highland Ghost Hunters led a group through the tunnels down here, several people claimed that they would randomly smell the scent of gardenia. Am I saying that right? Gardenia?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's gardenia.
And felt the presence of a woman while they crawled through the dank and claustrophobic 3x4 foot east tunnel. These tunnels were used as paths to transport inmates from their cells to their work placement, where they worked to maintain and run the facility. Some prisoners to the Jackson State Prison even claimed to hear phantom music playing from an old prison band. So when you talked about the Blues Brothers, I was like, there is actually like
there's an actual
music that sometimes people hear it. And then I was like, I don't even know.
It's kind of a deep cut music joke, but I noticed the sign for the Purple Gang up there, and it's like, well, the whole rhythm section, Purple Gang from Jailhouse Rock.
There you go.
So there you go.
That's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
More secluded parts of the sprawling 60-acre prison grounds are said to be the most haunted, notably the brick tunnels that run underground, which you might recognize.
Bam!
And especially those areas that were designated for solitary confinement, which is where we are sitting. So this is like the most haunted part of these grounds, supposedly. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but Michigan outlawed the death penalty in 1846, instead condemning those convicted of a capital offense to life in solitary confinement, which is where we are currently. This effectively turned a 10-second hanging into a 4 to 6 month death sentence, which is how Steve put it, and that's like the perfect imagery for it, that it's like, it would have been more humane if they were hung.
Wow.
And yet they just were sat here to rot.
Was that the longest, Steve? Like 6 months was the longest somebody had stayed in solitary? Or like, what was the longest run somebody?
Well, I don't think we'll ever know for sure.
Sure.
But they said within a very short time you'd go insane, and it wasn't long after that you'd die. I mean, when you went insane, they determined you were insane. They said they took your bucket out because you had a bucket to do your business in, and they took your bed out of your cell, and you just stayed there until you died, and then they took you away.
Really?
How did people die in those situations? Like, was it just a function of like
starvation?
Yeah, that's a good question because I'm not sure. I know once you get bread and water for a certain amount of time, you end up getting scurvy, and then your teeth fall out.
Oh.
And you're down here in the dark, and you go blind. Not to mention you're down here with, cockroaches and lice and probably rats or whatever else is down here. So that would drive you insane right there. If you got a letter from home, you wouldn't be able to read it anyway. You don't know what day it is. So all those things combined, and maybe, I'm not sure, I think scurvy might be a deadly disease.
Seems pretty likely. Yeah.
I know guys on ships would get scurvy, and I think the death toll was pretty high on those old ships. So maybe that's what they died of. I don't know.
Huh.
Wow. Can you imagine your teeth falling out? What's crazy to me about all of that, though, is that, that's psychological torture.
Yeah.
The second someone is deemed insane, well, now you've even lost your, basic provisions that you had in the first place. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this place, when it was built, it was not, you didn't come here as punishment. You came here for punishment.
Yeah.
And the Auburn prison system that this was based on, and almost all the prisons in America at that time were based on the Auburn prison system, Auburn, New York. They said in Auburn, New York, the whipping post was never dry. 50 whippings a day.
Wow.
The tortures, the guards were told that you look for any small infraction of the rules. Any small infraction would generate a severe punishment. And that was what you were here for, was to be punished. These are the same type of punishments that they used to do in the town square during colonial times.
Right.
These are, public whippings and dunking stools and, just things that they would do, and they didn't get any better when they put them behind closed doors.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. No one's going to see you, so no one can argue about what you're doing.
Right.
Wow. Well, that's nuts. So many people must have died in this place from disease, torture, or the work that they were made to do as inmates. I was going to say, so Steve told me a story about taking a tour group through this area, and when they came to solitary, a service dog with one of the guests went into full guard dog mode for about 30 seconds. A low growl erupted from the dog while Steve was conducting the tour. As they looked down, they saw this well-trained dog suddenly growling and trembling with the hair on the back of his neck standing up while he was staring intently at a spot, and yet nothing was there. Another dog on a tour refused to even come into the building, which is what we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Which is why dogs are smarter than people. Really.
Dogs are far smarter than people, usually.
I mean, sometimes they're not.
You get
they
your
do lick
occasional.
their butt, but
Yeah. In the 90s, the commander of the armory told Steve that he had a soldier who would refuse to come into the building. Many of them wouldn't even stay on the grounds overnight when they had drill. A young man who lived in the apartments that this was turned into over here for about 2 months approached Steve recently, this spring, and told him a story of waking up every night at the same time with the feeling that someone was in the room with him. Steve says he hasn't seen that guy lately. But I was going to ask you, Steve, what time did that guy wake up? Did he tell you?
It was like 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
That's why I ask, because 3 o'clock in the morning is the witching hour.
Well,
that'll do it.
The
he acted
witching
like
hour.
he'd been bewitched. I don't know if he's still here or not.
He might have maybe hopped out. Yeah, maybe he got his friend to bring a helicopter down. He's like, let's get the hell out of here.
Maybe he found a truck full of hogs. Who knows?
He's like, yeah.
It's hard to say.
we don't know about him, but yeah. All right, so one spirit believed to be here is that of Hannibal the Bear, who was a tall, heavy, and hairy man, hence his nickname.
Hence the bear. Yeah.
Right? Hence Hannibal. No. Hannibal the Bear towered over fellow inmates at a staggering 6'5" and was known for a bad temper and a growling voice.
See, I thought he was called the bear because of his hugs.
Yeah, well, it depends on who you ask. He was incarcerated at Jackson State Prison in 1878 and spent half of his 8-year prison sentence in solitary. So this is 1878. This guy was right here.
Wow.
Hannibal the Bear, my guy.
Hannibal the Bear.
I have to say, well, actually, it's funny you say that because I said, however, one heartwarming story I read about this prisoner describes how Hannibal the Bear taught himself to knit while incarcerated and even made a scarf for the watchman who he considered to be a friend of his.
See, you can't judge a book by its cover.
I love Hannibal the Bear.
Hannibal the Bear is pretty sweet. He's probably also a killer, but you know.
Well, he did something bad. We don't know what it was. Another spirit, I mean, I could probably figure it out, but I didn't find it. I was kind of curious to know why, but yeah?
Oh boy,
you know?
Hannibal the Bear was a logger from Grand Rapids area.
Oh.
He was and he was sent here for assault and battery, which is really strange because that's what loggers did for recreation, was assault and battery. They would come into town after work and they would fight with the other logging companies. That's all they did was fight. But they said Hannibal was a guy that if you said good morning to him, he would hit you. And they said he broke more jaws than anybody in the history of this place.
Wow.
Here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he must have been, I don't know if he was bipolar or he just had some type of mental problem where he was not somebody that anybody liked.
Yeah.
Because why else would you send him to prison if he was just a good assault and battery type of guy?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, that was what they did for recreation.
Well, I mean, there's no Netflix, right? What do you do?
He kicks some ass. Yeah,
right.
you got to. I like Hannibal. I got to say, I'm a fan of his.
Maybe.
There was another guy here at the same time by the name of Silver Jack Driscoll. Silver Jack, he liked to fight too, and he was from Saginaw. And they fought every time they got a chance between Hannibal and Silver Jack. Now, you can go Google Silver Jack Driscoll, and you'll find hundreds of stories about him.
Oh, really?
You Google Hannibal the Bear, and there's not a whole lot.
There's not a whole lot about, yeah.
I'm
There's
laughing.
songs, there's poems, there's stories about Silver Jack. He was, and they say you can go to downtown Saginaw to some of the bars down there, and you can still get drinks made after Silver Jack.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have to look into him. He sounds rad. So, but I gotta say, I think I'm still team Hannibal the Bear.
You know,
I gotta be.
I'm sitting there laughing because everybody had amazing names.
I know.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
there's just so many. And I didn't include a lot of them in my notes, but a lot of them had these nicknames that are just hilarious.
It's not like,
awesome.
Scott Johnson, like just some boring.
And then there's,
Steve.
Max here. Yeah. He is just,
Talking about that riot in 1952, the two guys that were in charge of it was Mad Earl Ward and Crazy Jack Hyatt.
Crazy Jack Hyatt, and who was the other one?
Yeah, Mad Earl Ward.
Mad Earl
Ward.
Oh my God.
Everybody great names.
So the other guy, Silver, who was that guy?
Silver Jack Driscoll.
Silver Jack Driscoll.
Google him. Yeah.
Google him and he'll come up all over the place. But Hannibal the Bear, not as much.
Not so much.
Was Silver Jack super tall too, or no?
Silver Jack, he was a pretty good sized guy. He was a logger. He had charisma though. Everybody liked Silver Jack.
I was a fan of Silver Jack. I gotta go underdog. I gotta go Hannibal the Bear. How about you?
Well,
yeah.
Some people say that Silver Jack might have been the prototype for Paul Bunyan.
Oh,
interesting.
That's interesting.
So they're both big guys.
Yeah.
And they like to fight.
They like to fight. All of them like to fight.
But people like Silver Jack. Oh, all of them do. Okay.
See, but I know like Hannibal still has that sort of like Fezzik from the Princess Bride, Andre the Giant energy.
Yeah.
Just a big dude that
Yeah.
But he likes to knit.
He's tough. But maybe he's got a soft spot for that one guy.
That's why
I want to be that one person that he has a soft spot for, Like Hannibal the Bear, if you're here, you're my dude. I'm Team Hannibal.
If you hear the sound of knitting needles,
know. That's how you know. That's how you know he likes you. Just a little faint click.
Hannibal.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Hannibal.
Appreciate you. All right. Okay, so another spirit believed to haunt these grounds is that of a cruel and sadistic former prison warden named John Morris, who was employed here between 1870 and 1875. Mm-hmm. What's unsettling is that Morris was known to be a breath of fresh air compared to his predecessors, at least in the beginning. He was known to ox whip prisoners long after it had been outlawed and would tie them to a cross. This is what gets me. He would tie them to a cross with wet, raw leather straps that would tighten as they dried.
Oh my God.
Because you know what gets me about it is it's creative. It's like creative. A creative form of torture of you know what? This will tighten.
We'll teach you. It's like he'd be in a Disney, like a bad guy in like a weird Disney movie or something like that.
Quite the Disney movie. I was thinking of like a Tarantino movie, but
maybe Disney Tarantino or
Disney
something.
Like Tarantino presents Disney's. Eventually, Norris was tried and convicted for cruel and unusual punishment and was told to leave Jackson and never return. Though some believe he came back after death, perhaps to revisit some of his twisted favorite memories of torture and cruelty.
Twisted favorite. I
sprinkled that in.
Just that was a good day.
Well, but that's the thing, though, is that he's this sadistic dude. So I'm trying to think about, well, why would you want to return to the place you worked,
Right.
But then it's like, oh, that's okay. But then it's like, maybe he would want to return because he was like, hell yeah, those are my glory days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's just that kind of guy.
What's weirder? Is the stuff he was doing weirder or the fact he wanted to go back to his old job? Because I don't want to go back to any of my old jobs.
No, and why would you?
That's gross.
This is if you think about what your favorite job was.
Yeah.
Mine was at Billy's Lounge in Grand Rapids, Michigan. When I worked as a server, we had so much fun. We're still a family, all of us.
So you like hanging out there. So maybe
of course.
It's a job.
So maybe if I wanted to, I don't know if I'd want to haunt anywhere forever.
He's a straight up creep. There's no question about it.
No kidding. So he's one of the spirits that people encounter down here.
Wow.
Yeah, you think about that kind of guy. Something that's interesting I wanted to mention is that some notable inmates at the Jackson State Prison include shock rocker G.G. Allen.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that?
I mean, obviously this would be at the new prisons, but
sure.
Major League Baseball player Ron LaFleur and rapper T. Grizzly.
Not familiar with
I don't know who he is either, but I'm sure somebody does. Because Wikipedia was like, this is a notable one. So now we know.
He doesn't have Lil in front of his name, so he can't be a current rapper. He's
right.
all Lil something.
Yeah, so that makes him. He's just T.
older.
Yeah, and it's T. Grizzly, Hannibal the Bear. We have a little bit of a theme going here.
Also Jack Kevorkian.
Jack Kevorkian? Oh God, awesome!
Wow.
Why is that not on the Wikipedia page? Totally should be. Kevorkian.
You get an editing credit for that. There you go. You go back on Wikipedia and put it in.
Yeah, you're right. We totally should. Yeah, so how long was he in prison here for?
He was in Jackson for probably a year or two, and then they shipped him to another prison here in the state for a few years.
But this would have been more recent, like...
Well, yeah, this would have been in the 80s or 90s. I think he was...
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So he probably was subjected to some kinds of unsavoriness, right?
Well, you know what? From what I understand from talking to a guy that knew him, said that he was left alone pretty much in prison. He kept to himself and he didn't make any waves, and people kind of deferred to him. I think some of the people here that were incarcerated, they kind of just respected him. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I do too. Sorry. Huh. I know it's controversial.
No, but totally, yeah.
Team Kevorkian.
Team Kevorkian. We're Team Hannibal Bear.
Yep.
Team Kevorkian.
Yep. Yeah, make no mistake.
We're making our alliances known.
Yeah, big time. All right. If you're interested, you can come check out the prison for yourself. You can meet Steve, our man here, who's been part of this whole interview.
You know what? Hannibal the Bear's a badass. Steve's a badass.
Steve Rudolph, though.
Steve's a badass.
Let's hear it for Steve Rudolph. All right. Yeah. I love it when we can have an expert sitting with us to be like, that's not true. And I'm like, all right.
He knows some mad stuff. I'm telling you right now. He's got all the things.
Yes, and you can meet Steve Rudolph and all the other ghosts here on the Jackson Historic Prison Tours, which offers intimate tours of the Jackson State Prison Guards, some of which are still in use. So there's all kinds of opportunities to check this out. So don't think that just listening to this podcast that you can't come explore this for yourself.
And I have to say, this would not be like the first thing I would choose to do, but it's pretty cool, man. This is a really, really cool place.
This is like the first thing. This is like the types of, and I think that my listeners are like me, where they're just like, if I find myself in Jackson, Michigan, I'm going to totally check out this haunted prison.
I'm going to represent for all the nerdy dweeb scaredy cats, and I'm going to say it's cool too. You should come. Who might
be the husbands of my listeners that are like, I guess we're going.
It's all right. It's good. It's going to be fine. You'll be all right.
You're absolutely right, because the women come and then they come back with their husbands.
That's how. I don't know why, but it seems like a lot of women are interested in true crime and murder and hauntings and stuff, and it's like. Men kind of front like they're, I'm not scared, I don't believe in whatever. And then the second you put them in this horrifying position, they're just like, what the fuck?
Oh,
what are we doing here?
What's happening right now? When do we get to go to Buffalo Wild Wings?
Oh my God. I actually did go to Buffalo Wild Wings after an episode. There's this one episode in California. It was my creature feature of season 2. So it's kind of like a... sort of like the Loch Ness Monster, only it's in Elizabeth Lake in California. We did our episode. My comic was so freaked out. And I'm telling him, I was like, dude, we'll get dinner after this. You're fine. But for right now, I hear the footsteps around me too. That's weird. Let's just get done with it.
So weird. So I'm handling myself rather well, I think. Sounds like. It's kind of...
And like I said, I'm always shocked. Because some of them, you don't think, your comic will get that freaked out. We're at the Holcomb Creek train trestle. But here's this cool story. And they're like, ghost kids? That's my thing. That's my thing I'm afraid of.
Oh, my God.
So, you just really, you never know. Yeah.
Never know. It's super cool, though. It's pretty
yes, it is. I hope you had fun exploring the Jackson State Prison with Daryl and I. The history of the Jackson State Prison actually reflects the history of almost every prison in the United States because most were based on the Auburn prison system until the 1880s. That history reflects a brutal and corrupt system that has evolved into what we have today. Despite the dark history, Steve and Jim's motto at the Historic Prison Tours is, "Who says a prison tour can't be fun?" They deliver a history that will inform and entertain you. They are open to small groups from April through October by reservation only and can be booked online at historicprisontours.com. Buses and larger groups should call 517-817-8960 to make your reservation. Make sure to check out Daryl's podcast, Year of Living Stevie, where he interviews musicians and talks about how they were inspired by Stevie Wonder. You can find it at theyearoflivingstevie.blogspot.com or on Facebook with the handle @YearOfLivingStevie. You could also look at his new upcoming podcast, Do the Thing, where he talks to people about how they struggled through the creative process to create something wonderful. You can find it on Instagram and Facebook with the handle @DoTheThingPod. If you're in the Detroit area, Daryl Bean will be hosting a live show called Comedians and Coffee on July 13th at 7:30 p.m. at the Brighton Coffee House and Theater in Brighton, Michigan. If you're not in the area, you can find Daryl on Facebook with the handle @Daryl Bean Comedy. That's @DARYLBEAN Comedy. While you're at it, make sure to check us out on social media too. You can find us with the handle @LitDarkPodcast or visit our website at litdarkpodcast.com, where you can see what's new, Check out our merch or just say hello using the Contact Us form. We love hearing from you. Special thanks for this episode goes to my producer, Randall Lawrence in Cranival Studios, Jonathan Cooper, my graphic designer, Sara Schneider, my manager, Steve Rudolph for his knowledge and warm hospitality, and of course, all of you for listening. Laughing in the Dark is brought to you in part by Heck Yeah Studio. Heck Yeah Studio is a creative effort working with people to create meaningful things. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with clients to turn their ideas or existing brands into real or better versions. Heck Yeah Studio is the place to go for custom illustration for a full range of branding services, like killer logos, great colors and typography, and fun illustrations for pins, signs, prints, shirts, vehicles, posters, or anything you can imagine. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with love. Their dream client is someone who is passionate about what they do. At Laughing in the Dark, Heck Yeah Studio has designed our logo, all of our merch, and any posters or stickers that we have. I am so proud and lucky to work with such an awesome company, and I could not recommend them higher.
Hey, Christy, what do we talk about on our podcast?
Well, Ashley, we talk about all kinds of weird stuff.
Like aliens.
And ghosts.
And cults.
And cryptids.
And witches.
And murders.
Yeah, even sometimes murders. Basically, we talk about all kinds of weird shit.
Oh, I already said that.
Oh.
So yeah, if you like weird topics, feminist rants, and the occasional F-bomb, you should listen to us.
We post new episodes every other Weird Wednesday.
Find us online at that'sweird.org.
Listen to That's Weird on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on social media at That's Weirdcast.
Carnival Studios.